recording and you can start the meeting whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right. Well, we will call the December 3rd, 2020 Planning Commission meeting to order. And we will do a roll call. Commissioner Wu.
Here.
All right. Commissioner Varenkamp.
Here.
Commissioner Schulak.
Here.
Commissioner Dickman.
Here.
And I am here. So everybody is in attendance. Thank you very much. All right. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. For those that would like to join us, please do so. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
and to the
one
republic
nation,
for which it
under
stands,
God,
one nation,
indivisible,
under God,
with liberty
indivisible,
and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to item 3, agenda approval. Anybody have any questions, changes, comments? Looks fairly straightforward and simple. You all did get the city council report from Brad via email today. Thank you, Brad. So that was not in the packet, but looks like everything is there. We have one public hearing and then that's it. Any changes? If not, I'll take a motion to accept the agenda.
Motion to accept the agenda.
Second?
I'll second it.
Second and Dickman.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, we will go through roll call again. Commissioner Dickman? To approve?
Yay.
Commissioner Schulak?
Aye.
Commissioner Wu?
Aye.
Commissioner Varenkamp?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. All right, the agenda is approved. All right, open forum for our general public or city officials as well. Open forum is a chance to speak about any issues that are of interest or concern to you. And I believe Mike Pritchard, if you wish to speak, if you would do the raise your hand, Mike will tune you in. And again, open forum is a time for you to speak about anything that is not currently on the agenda. We'll have an opportunity for that when that item comes up. So Mike, is there anybody out there?
Mr. Chair, I currently do not have anyone with their hand raised.
Okay, well, if there's nobody that would like to participate in open forum, we'll move on to item 5, the minutes from November 5th, 2020. I was, unfortunately, I was absent. I got asked to go on a hunting trip with my son. And so I took that opportunity. I appreciate Commissioner Dickman for running. I did watch the meeting when I got back. You did a fine job. Thank you very much. I appreciate you standing in. So I'll recuse myself from this discussion, but does anybody have any changes or corrections to the minutes from November 5th?
Yes.
Only
Item number
change.
1.
Go ahead, Meredith.
It should say Acting Chair Dickman called the meeting to order at 7 p.m., not Chair Jacobs. And then there's some spelling errors throughout, probably not important. But I think just under call to order, roll call, it would be Acting Chair Dickman.
Okay, Mike, did you get that?
Thanks, Meredith. And maybe Paul, if you want to follow up with Meredith after the meeting, we can do some clerical corrections. We can just do ourselves without at the meeting here.
Sounds good.
Okay. Mr. Dickman, was that the same error you were going to point out?
Yeah, because nobody can replace you, Dean. It's only acting.
Oh, yes, they can, trust me. And they will someday. Okay, any other changes? All right, not hearing any. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
So moved. Commissioner Varenkamp.
Okay.
Seconded,
I'll second
Dickman.
that word.
Okay. Dickman, second.
Tell Meredith
Okay.
and I have the rural internet.
That's okay. All right, so roll call to accept the minutes from November 5th as corrected. Commissioner Dickman?
Aye.
All right, Commissioner Scholak?
Aye.
Commissioner Wu?
Aye.
And Commissioner Varenkamp?
Aye.
And I am abstained, so the minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on now quickly then to item 6, new business. Public hearing, request for rezoning for the property located at 23240 County Road 30. And first up is staff report. So Mr. Moretto, we look forward to hearing your report, please.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. I have a short presentation to provide to you, and hopefully you can hear me. I have donning my mask today, so hopefully I'm clear and concise and able to be heard. Let me know if I'm not, and I'll speak up.
Now we
Let
can hear
me
you.
share my screen. There we go. So today we have city file number 20040, a rezoning request for 23240 County Road 30. Just a quick summary for those that may step out. Some of the key facts of this is that the request for rezoning from a transitional rural commercial to that of rural commercial is being requested. The TCR, as it's known, zoning requires a rezoning to CR, or rural commercial. Our 2040 comprehensive plan guides this parcel for the rural commercial zone. The applicant has satisfied the requirements of this particular request through the application process. The applicant does have an existing conditional use for the existing operations, but that should also be reviewed and considered as well. That's not going to be a part of the request today, but that it does exist. And
Hey, Paul?
yes,
Paul, I just want to just clarify something.
yes,
When you say that the applicant has a conditional use permit already as part of the TCR, is that, do they own the property as of this moment and therefore they're operating it under that?
it is to my knowledge that this is being applied for by the current owner, as well as the I believe it's Trevor and Missy Sherber. So it is, to my knowledge, it's being co-applied for. I do not know the current ownership status. I believe it's still owned by the original owner. Again, that's to my current knowledge.
Okay, yeah, and I only ask that because I see here, we keep seeing the applicant, and I just want to know, are we talking about the Sherbers or the current owner of the property? As far as, again, we don't know, but I forget her last name, Conan. I believe that conditional use permit rests with her when she owns or did own the property. And I just wanted to clarify that. So thank you. Sorry.
Yes, you're correct. It was applied for by the Cohens, and they're the ones that carry it. It'll carry over when the new owners take acquisition. And that does come with some caveats for that property when in the future things develop, and we can discuss that as well.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Absolutely. At this time, based off of those particular facts are known to us today, staff recommends the rezoning from TCR to CR. I will move on to the next part of the presentation. Just for a little bit of context, we do have a map here that shows the general location of this particular property. You'll note that we have the what's called the excuse me, but it's the Bircherville, is it?
Birchville?
Birchville area. Right off of County Road 30 and I believe 10. This area features some of the similar uses such as transition commercial as well as rural commercial. And you can see that in this context map. The applicant or the application, excuse me, was deemed complete November 15th of 2020. The subject property does have a conditional use permit, which includes an allowance for a home occupation, a contractor storage, which is allowed, but in the accessory building, which is on site. The current condition is acceptable to the applicant's current operation as stated in their narrative, but any increased usage may require a new conditional use permit, which needs to be reviewed at the time of new application. In context of the 2040 comprehensive plan, it does guide this particular parcel for rural commercial. The proposed uses for rural commercial uses provided in the applicant's narrative, and the location of such a property is planned for this particular use. Here's a little excerpt from the comprehensive plan showing the subject property in the red circle. The pink color is that rural commercial zoning type. And you can see there's a commonality along that corridor for that particular use. From a quick analysis standpoint, the current zone is in the TCR zone. The land for future development for this zone has been planned. It's considered a holding zone for this particular CR zoning. It does provide many of the different options for the CR zone, but it's not meant to be permanent. It's just, again, called transitional. In the new zone, which is being applied for, it does provide for a mix of neighborhood commercial uses and rural industrial. It is meant to be a long-term zoning for the County Road 19 and 30 area. Again, one of the unique features of this particular zone is that it's not scheduled to have any water or sewer from the public side, or public access to like trunk mains and those sorts of things. So if this did have access, it would probably be under an industrial zoning, but in this case, since you can't get those public utilities, it's under the CR zone. So a quick evaluation based off the applicant's narrative and the documentation they sent to us. The rezoning is consistent with the 2040 comprehensive plan. The rezoning meets the purpose of the map amendment for the intended zoning district, which is CR for the TCR zone. This zone is compatible with what was proposed in the narratives applicants need, and the infrastructure is adequate for that particular zoning area. The action that's being requested today is to conduct a hearing for that proposed rezoning, to review the facts as presented, and then a motion to recommend either approval or denial of the applicant's application to rezone the subject property from the TCR to the CR commercial zone. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Much appreciated. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to open the public hearing. For those that will speak, if you would please state your name and your address for the record. And then the way we conduct our public hearings is we will make notes and whatnot. And at the end of that, then our professional staff will attempt to answer those questions that you may have brought up in speaking to the commission. And those that can't be may require follow-up in the future. But in order to keep this process moving, we'll take one at a time. We would like to limit it at 5 minutes, but we certainly are very flexible on that and have been in the past. So at this point, we will open the public hearing. If you wish to speak, Mike at City Hall, if you will raise your hand, he'll tap you in, and then you'll be given that opportunity. So I believe I see here we do have the applicants online. If you wish to address the council, please do so. And what we have done in the past, in order to facilitate some of the commission's questions, we may ask those directly to you after the public hearing is closed. So if you stick around, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm sure you will. So Mike, is there anybody that wishes to address the public hearing?
Chair Jacobs, I do not have anyone currently with their hand raised.
Really? Okay. Wow. How long has it been since we had a public hearing where nobody spoke? All right. All right. Well, I will, if there's nobody there, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved, Commissioner Varenkamp.
Okay. Second, anybody?
Second, Shulak.
Okay, very good. All right, on the motion to close the public hearing, Commissioner Dickman,
Aye.
Commissioner Shulak,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Commissioner Varenkamp,
Aye.
and Commissioner Jacobs. Aye. Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Commission discussion and recommendation. Okay, so I think we're all becoming pretty good at this virtual stuff. So as we have done in the past, we will go through by commissioner as your sole opportunity to ask staff questions about this or make any comments. We'll go through the roster once, and then after that, we'll go through it again in case something came to mind or a discussion happened and you got a follow-up. So we'll go through this at least twice then before we make a recommendation to the city council. So anybody want to start? If not, I'll be glad to. All right. So I had a chance to talk with Paul today about this because as I looked at this rezoning, I wanted to kind of see what were the similarities and differences to what the city did in the Comlink. And if you all remember, that's the one on the southeast corner. That was also a property where we rezoned it to rural commercial. The biggest distinction that I can come up with between what we're seeing here today and discussing and what happened in the Comlink is that Comlink came to the city not only requesting the zoning and a variance and the conditional use permits and stuff, but they actually had a plan, right? So we went through, we talked about, parking spaces, and we talked about buildings, and we talked about screening and the whole 9 yards. This is different only in that they're not coming with a plan of any sort. They're just asking for a rezoning. And initially, I had some concerns about that only because we're being asked to rezone a piece of property that apparently has a very intended type of use, but without any idea as to what kind of changes they may or may not make in the future. Is this going to really be suitable? Now, Yeah, in looking at a request for a rezoning, the city has a high level of discretion in approving or denying the application. And the one thing that I went to is this, is this an allowed use? Now, in the application, in their narrative, and in the staff report, it says contractors' yards. But contractors' yards is a really fairly undefined term as to what a contractor yard is. And as I look at the application, and at least right now, my understanding of the intended use of this property, this company is in the business of excavating and garbage dumpsters, not garbage like household garbage, but construction, demolition and new construction materials. So they're going to have the roll-on units, but there isn't a whole lot of insight. So when we talk about the permitted uses and the conditional uses in the CR district, I guess the first question we should all answer ourselves, is this a contractor yard type of use that applies? Not a real technical thing. Again, I know it's very vague, but that was the first thing I had. Now, as I went to the staff report, in the background, it was said that the application was completed on November 15th after discussion about the appropriate rezoning type for this location. It was agreed that CR was the best solution for their needs at this time. Paul, I don't know if you were involved in those discussions, but what other alternatives were discussed or possible?
Thank you, Chair. Originally, the application came in under a rezoning to industrial zone, and that is not compatible with the geography of that particular area. In order to successfully petition for an industrial zone, you have to have municipal water and sewer. And so we looked at the zoning, the TCR zoning, which currently exists there, and community or rural commercial was the appropriate zone as guided by the comprehensive plan.
Okay, Mr. Moreno, why would the applicant come in and think that they should have it rezoned to industrial? Do they consider their operation to be more of an industrial-based operation? I mean,
well, I think we have our applicant here as well. I'd say that knowing that the contractor's yard, as open-ended as that may be, was a conditional use option. I think the original intention was to not have to go through the conditional use process for the contractor's yard in the future, but this is the intended zone that's guided for by the comprehensive plan, and so that seems to be the most appropriate.
okay, but anything that they do outside of a residential home business, they'd have to get a conditional use permit for anyway, wouldn't they?
Generally speaking, in this particular zone, because the contractor's yard type business isn't available within the permitted uses, and so they'd have to. And there's a current conditional use permit in place, which pretty much restricts the type of operations that can go on.
Okay. Well, in the next paragraph, I'll get down to it. It says it operates with a conditional use permit that allows for home occupation with contractor storage inside the accessory building. This is compatible with the applicant's proposed use of the land and existing building. Now, am I to infer from that they're going to occupy this property as a residence?
I don't know exactly that was the precise connotation, rather that the conditional use permit itself provides for that type of operation, being the contractor's yard. Are they going to operate as I don't know if they're going to operate it as a home necessarily, And then we can talk to the applicant themselves here to answer that, but that is a fair question.
Well, and I ask that because I recently talked to somebody about a situation that they're in, and they're looking at buying a place for storage of equipment, and it has a house, and it's in Wright County, and they were telling me, they said, well, the only way we can get a conditional use permit is we have to guarantee then that as a home occupation, somebody homesteads the property. So in the current use that they have, which they say they're going to continue to do, is that property to be used as a house. In the applicant's narrative, they say they're going to consolidate all of their operations, one of which is their office that they rent somewhere in Corcoran. So might I assume that the household will become an office? And this is just a big assumption, but would that negate, or would that bring them in non-compliance as a home occupation with contractor storage? I know it's kind of a difficult technical question.
What I would say is that if, for example, they were to, again, this is a hypothetical, but if they were to engage in an activity that goes beyond the scope of the conditional use permit, then they'd be out of compliance, regardless of the zoning type, right? So if they continue to operate as though they're a TCR and they go ahead and operate outside of the context of that conditional use permit, then it'd be a violation. And so it would invoke the revocation of a CUP, or at least a code compliance of the CUP. Whether the rezoning would invoke that either way, I don't know if the rezoning would have kind of a mechanism for checking that.
Well, I mean, I would assume that a rural commercial zone doesn't allow for residential.
I've never heard of this zoning before I came here, so it's a little unique to me.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I understand that. So,
right.
Well, I just brought it up because, this idea that, again, we don't know exactly what it is they're going to do with it. In their narrative, they say they're going to continue to improve it, but I'm just like, well, if we rezone this to rural commercial, and all of a sudden, here comes all the equipment, here comes the offices and everything else, without any kind of, permitting for all that, and going back to what we required for Comlink when they were going to build it. Now that was a dirt piece of ground. These guys have existing structures. But there's a lot to be said for, bringing in a CR type of contractor yard where I would assume we're going to have outdoor storage, we're going to have more vehicles, but we don't have anything really on our plate to say whether or not it will be allowed, or what kind of things we're going to do until they actually come forward with a development plan to build upon it. So I'm just kind of wondering, where's the fine line between when this is rezoned and when they actually start utilizing it to a use that is not currently permitted for?
Right, I think that's when they decide to go ahead and operate, they're going to need to come in with a conditional use update or amendment, or just a new conditional use permit. That's really the option that's available. Regardless of whether or not, even if they continue to operate under this current zone, they would still need to amend that conditional use permit to increase the intensity of use.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So under the, and here's kind of where I'm going to. So under the current proposed use section of the report, currently the applicant operates 3 locations where they store trucks and job materials, outdoor storage space, and then leased office space. So currently outdoor storage, job materials, and offices aren't currently allowed under the conditional use permit in which they are now going to be assuming, and which I'm understanding here, they have to be operating under. Then you read the last sentence, it says their intention is to improve the site over time and submit a separate application for site plans and details. The last paragraph, it should be noted that development and use beyond the bounds of the original conditional use permit may require amendment to the conditional use permit. The CR zone does provide for contractors' operations as a conditional use. So if they're going to bring in, I don't know what job materials are, and they're going to start storing, I don't know where you put these roll-offs, but I don't know that they would keep in a building. I don't think there's enough building space on that site. So if they're going to start storing them on the site, now you got an outdoor storage thing. So you got materials, you got equipment, and you got office space in a house, which are not currently allowed under their conditional use permit. So before they actually do stuff, would they have to be required to come in and go through the amendments to that in order to do that?
When the intensity of use increases beyond that conditional use permit, which, as you read and eloquently stated, they will need to revisit that conditional use permit to continue.
Okay. All right. One of the things that I also, well, I won't go into talking about all the specifics that we required for Comlink, because again, they actually had a plan, but I'm satisfied with what you're telling me, that, because again, I just thought, well, is this just a, the fact that they didn't come in with a plan, maybe they don't know what they want to do, but hey, once it's zoned, CR, just bring everything in and we'll deal with the aftermath later. I just kind of wanted to know what's going to come first. And so those were really the most important questions I had. So I will thank you very much. And we will go to Commissioner Varenkamp.
We talked about the TCR to CR and all of those things. My biggest concern, I don't have a lot of concern with anything changing out there as far as what happens with that property. I do have a concern with, once they do start bringing in the traffic and stuff, will all access come off of County Road 30? What improvements to the intersection of County Road 30 and County Road 19? As everybody knows, that's probably one of the most miserable intersections we have in town, being a stop sign on County Road 30 and then 19 is going north and south. I know our county group has, they say they've improved it with that onboarding lane. If you turn north on County Road, from County Road 30 onto 19, you merge into that, into 19, but I drive it frequently and I just see a miserable intersection still. So that's my only concern about this. Once they start bringing in traffic, what are the improvements to that corner that the city has responsibility for? Those property owners at that intersection, what responsibility do they have? And then again, is it just traffic onto 30, an in and out driveways onto 30, or is there an in and out on 19? If you can answer that.
At this time,
Well, let me, if I may, Paul. So Dean, in the Comlink, as I read through that packet, Hennepin County won't allow ingress or egress from 19.
No, I understand that.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
asking just about this property.
Okay. Yep.
right, and I think when an application comes in for evaluation for the site design, that would have to be something we need to take a look at in its totality to make sure that we have thought this through. And this is something I can take to our group as well to kind of wrestle over and come up with a really good solution.
Mr.
And
Chair,
then the other question I have is, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brett.
No, I just want to add on to what Paul was stating. You know, with the current design not changing and no additional accesses, it would remain as is with no further improvements. But as Paul mentioned, if they had a new site plan coming forward, that would be under further evaluation.
Okay. The other question I had is, what if those property owners, that we're talking about, weren't to change it to commercial, residential? What if they were to change it to light industrial down the road and stuff? That obviously would need to have city water, city sewer to do that. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then what changes anywhere else in town if we do have city water, city sewer, if we choose, or if someone comes and requests a change from mixed residential or commercial to something else, do people have that option if things make sense in the city? Or do we follow the comp plan specifically?
The comp plan is our guiding plan. It kind of tells us what needs to happen. There is an opportunity to amend the comp plan in the future if council, Met Council, and as well as our council, of course, deem it appropriate. And that's a very labored process that requires a lot of review and a lot of consideration, and won't be done on a whim.
All right. That's all I have. There's no neighbors, obviously, concerned about this, and this is a piece of property right out in the middle of nowhere. So it's hard to see after all these years seeing those horses roam around that piece of property and such, and the current landowners using it the way they do and such. I'm interested to see how it would change and still be somewhat appealing. Obviously, if we go to the next step and have dumpsters, those kind of things brought in, obviously the fencing, screening, and everything would be part of that comprehensive use, or conditional use permit change or request, correct?
Right.
Thanks, that's all I've got.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dean. All right, Commissioner Wu, you're up.
Yeah, I have a question for the applicants, for Trevor and Missy Sherburne. Based on what you're hearing and what we're reading, you need to do an amendment to the conditional use permit in order to operate your business on this property. So can you elaborate on what your plans are moving forward here as far as transitioning from the different sites that you have spread around the area and amalgamating it to this one site, and then, doing a site plan?
So is our video not working? Can you see us?
We can hear you, but I don't see anything.
Okay, just one moment.
I already tried it.
Here we go. Here we go. Hi, how are you? I'm Missy Sherber. This is my husband, Trevor.
Hello.
So I liked your hypothesis that you were coming up with potentially from the narrative that was written. To be honest with you, we were really upfront with Kendra on what we were thinking and kind of the current use, what we need to do to just get in there and maybe start using the offices as we develop a site plan. And this was the path that she recommended us taking, which was to first, and I did ask her, are you sure we shouldn't try to rush this and do that? And this was the path she recommended, was to, let's see, do the rezone request, get that in, work on our site plan, which we started working with an engineer for a site plan that's, appealing to the neighboring community, that is understanding of the traffic. That's going to take a little more time for us to come up with. And so she kind of thought the best path was request the rezone, second step, and this is all new for us. So I appreciate your patience as we learn the process as young business owners acquiring property in a community that we've been in for a long time and really love. So she said, kind of go through this step, and then the next step is a CUP. I didn't really know that we'd be grandfathering in Conan's CUP. I understood that we were going to have to come in and present to you guys a full site plan, our full intentions, kind of spend another big chunk of change. You know, we got to get through this one and then the next one. But what I understood was that would be kind of step 2, is a full CUP with our site plan and everything. And we've already started having those conversations with Scott and Kendra, but we aren't fully there yet. We're just kind of learning a lot in the process. So our goal really is, our slow season is in January, February, and March. And we would love to, we do not plan on living there. We live on our family farm just down the road. We'd like to come in and just get the offices set up during our slow season. We know that's an immediate need. We'd like to use it as it is. Kothrati, the excavator that is using it now under the CUP, has 6 trucks. We have 3. So we don't feel like we're going to be adding any traffic or any concerns through this step 1 of the process. And we kind of hope to really work well with all of you on step 2 of the process to come up with a good plan that everyone feels good about. So I hope that answers the questions. We're not living there. We are going to come with an amended CUP that we understand would need your approval and your advisory. And I think that's it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Oh, the dumpsters.
Dean, I don't have any further questions.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Ms. Sherber.
Yes, so the dumpsters, we have a dumpster yard off of Highway 55, and really with the type of business that we do, we primarily store our dumpsters at the landfill for logistics sake. And we're looking at a partnership right now that has storage yards in downtown Minneapolis. So we're not really looking to come in and do, have a bunch of garbage, disposal material, dumpsters, bins. That's not what we're really looking for. We're looking for a good, clean headquarters where our team can all be together. And the dumpster business is really run in Minneapolis from landfill to, and all of our bins are typically out. Not sitting around, like that. So we haven't fully thought that piece through yet because we just didn't see it as relevant right now with the yard that we have on Highway 55.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you for your explanation.
Great
And I think, I don't know that maybe, I think maybe Kendra gave you the, again, it's a little unusual that we don't have both of those pieces together. And we don't go through this a lot, rezoning for especially this district. But since we did go through it, and yeah, so phase 2, it would make sense then to do all that together. I think, at least from my own personal opinion, I think the thing that would probably cause the most alarm would be as if all of a sudden you had all this outdoor storage all of a sudden showing up.
Yeah.
I mean, Kothrati's, I know that they've been out there for several years, and you drive by that place 100 times. I maybe have seen his pickup truck out there twice.
Yeah.
And he probably stopped in at the shop to get something there. So, I mean, I've really been impressed. And I didn't even know really I know that we did that CUP back in 2013. Of course, I can't remember that far back, but how that worked has done really, really well.
Yeah.
You never see the vehicles out there. I mean, when you drive by that, it looks like, you see the horses back there. It looks like a family farmstead. You really would never know that Kothrati was storing, big trucks and equipment in there. You never would know. Yeah. And so I don't think you'll have any problems doing that. So I guess maybe the only issue would be, you're not using it as a residence and setting up office, but if you're not going to be storing anything out there, talk with Kendra and talk with Brad and see how we can maybe just kind of maneuver around that one little issue. Maybe it's not an issue. Because like I said, once you get it zoned CR, I don't know that you can have a residence in there.
That's
Right.
what we're
God,
told.
so,
That's what we were told, and that's kind of,
I'm sorry?
that's what we were told, and that was our intention.
Yeah, yeah. So this may be a non-issue right from the get-go.
Okay.
But, as a planning commission, we're trying to go 3 feet deep
Yeah,
into this thing to make sure that we cover all the bases so that
for sure.
we don't all get embarrassed at some point in the future because we
Right.
weren't doing our job. So.
Right. And we do, like, as a contractor, if you look at our website, like, we really pride ourselves on our appearance, our site presence. We're a diverse contractor, and we've always I get embarrassed by driving by yards like you're thinking. And I never want that with a commercial property that we have our name a part of. And, the community there is peaceful. Our daughter goes to the daycare step by step there. We're friends with several members of the community right over there, and we would never want to impede or do something that wouldn't be visually appearing. We are a contractor, there is that reality, but we hope to work with you and the surrounding community to come up with a good plan that is respective of being a contractor, but also just respective of, like you said, you're used to seeing horses there, and we don't want to ruffle feathers.
Oh, well, yeah, I have horses, and I don't have anybody coming up to me going, don't ever sell the horses. We like looking at them. Well, you go out and feed them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Commissioner Schulak, you're up.
Mr. Chair, I have no questions or comments at this time.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Dickman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excited to meet the applicants, knowing that they are Corcoran residents and already have offices here in Corcoran. Also excited that they're thinking about expanding and consolidating their business, especially in that Birchville 1930 corridor. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think with you guys talking with Kendra that I can see the linear path that they're trying to go through. I think the difference here too is you just happen to have a property here that already had a conditional use permit from 2013 that seemed to fit, maybe not perfectly, but at least there was a Venn diagram of activities that you guys are looking to do that fit within your business model and what the property already had. So I think this does make sense within the 2040 comp plan. It's the next step. And then it gives you guys time to potentially do some minor operations of what you're already doing and consolidate and figure that portion of the business out during your slow period, while giving you time to figure out what additional conditional uses you're looking to apply and figuring out how many pergolas you're going to need on the top of a building, because I think that was a pretty big discussion at council for the comlink piece. So there'll be some design things and other things that staff will help you through, but that might be a good one to just reference on what are some of the things. I know part of the thing with comlink was the proximity of the bike trail on 19, which you guys may or may not have at this particular property. So excited to have you back when you guys figure out what you want to do for a CUP, but supportive of this within the confines of what we have as a comp plan and what we're trying to do with that area on 19 and 30. Back.
All right. Well, anybody got any follow-up questions or discussion? Okay. Paul, in our packet, we didn't actually get the we didn't get the rezoning paperwork here.
Yeah, that's a new item for me for this city, and the city that I worked in previously, we didn't present the ordinance or resolution until we went to council. So I apologize for that. I didn't know that that needed to be part of that. But I think a motion to make a recommendation for that rezoning would be appropriate.
Mr. Chair and members, just to follow up on that, and I apologize. I obviously didn't bring Paul all the way through the process with everything. I did speak with both Paul and Kendra today, and there would be an ordinance for the rezoning. And then the resolution would simply be the finding of facts to support that. So really what it comes down to is if you, the commission, believe that the rezoning should take place, as Paul mentioned, a motion to recommend that action, and then the ordinance and resolution would be drafted for the city council formal approval. And I personally apologize for that.
Okay. I mean, you know, obviously I don't think we have any changes to it. But you know, when it comes down to a lot of conditions and things like that, you know, that's vital to our understanding of what we're voting on. So in this case, no harm, no foul. Is everybody comfortable with just voting without the resolution in front of you? Okay, so I guess no changes then by anybody?
Nope.
Okay, well, we'll take a motion then to does this have an
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
can I try this to just kind of make it quick? I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution that needs to be written up, approving this change from TCR to R. Does that sum it up pretty good?
And then the findings of fact.
Yep.
And just
Okay.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Varenkamp, just a friendly amendment, just to recommend approval versus approval. Just a
Oh, yeah.
nuance
Yeah.
there.
Recommend we'll change
Just a
that.
nuance. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so we've got a motion to recommend approval of the resolution and the findings of fact. Do I have a second?
Second, Shulak.
Okay, roll call. A or nay, Commissioner Dickman,
Yay.
Commissioner Shulak,
Yay.
Commissioner Wu,
Yay.
Commissioner Varenkamp,
Yay.
and Commissioner Jacobs, yay as well. So, Mr. and Mrs. Sherber, good luck. Glad to, yeah, you know, well, you all live in the community, so we're not going to welcome you, but you know,
It's exciting.
you know, well, I did look at your website. The bacon wrapped ribs look fantastic. So
I'll make it for you.
I
Thank you.
mean, in my semi-retirement state, I was looking for any kind of desk job just so I could come to the Thursday meals.
You're hired.
There you go. Yeah, so, well, good luck and we'll probably see you sometime down the road as you continue to grow. So,
Thank you so
Awesome.
much. And
Thanks a
we'll
lot.
bring ribs to the next meeting.
okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
All right. We will move on now to item 7, reports and information, 7A, planning project update. Anybody have any planning questions or comments? Boy, this thing used to be about 3-4 pages long, and now it's about 1.5. Maybe things are getting closed out.
Mr. Chair.
Streamlining.
Yeah, streamlining. There you go. I don't have any other than I don't know, Paul, Brad, what's the latest and greatest with Tavara? I expected to see all the trees cut down by now. Are they moving forward, or I see utility work. Are they putting sewer and water over there yet?
Sewer and water piping is going in.
Yes, chair members, that's actually part of the city project for the Southeast Water Main Connection Project. I believe Paul is looking through, they did submit the first edition for final plat. So I think Paul is looking through for completeness. Is that correct, Paul?
Correct. I'm working with Kendra to come up with a completeness letter, if so.
And that'd come to Planning Commission either, I think, January or probably likely February, I believe.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Paul, I had a question on number 3. It's the Kirinimi edition. I know that we spent a lot of time on that as a commission and council and development rights and whatnot, and there was some big hurdles to go through with that one. I didn't see any dates. So am I to assume the applicant is still working on that one on number 3?
I believe you're correct on that. They're still working through some of those issues, and we'll bring an update as soon as it's available.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments or discussion with the planning update? All right, we'll move on. 7B, City Council Report. Council Member Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I'll just focus on the things that have come before the Planning Commission, and then happy to answer any questions on any others. So in our last meeting, Creek Reserve, which I will probably forever call Sawgrass as long as I'm on the council, came before us. The minor amendments with regards to garages and exterior materials. The exterior materials followed Meredith's comment in the Planning Commission about having them include at least 2 options from the list to break up the backs of those large buildings and not just let them pick, one of the simplest forms. So it's up to them as to what they would pick, but we weren't going to let them just get away with, adding some window trim and call it a day with that. The garage size had to do with the variance for the frontage of the garage. They asked for one number, Planning Commission came back with a lower number. There was a lot of discussion in the city council, and we ended up going with their request, but added a caveat that the front exterior with both levels could not exceed 40% for a garage. So because we looked at it as if you could have a house that has a 2-level house and there could be a large garage front, but the whole upper story over that garage could be a house front. And that really breaks up the look of the garage. So that's why we added that no more than overall 40%. I think that was the only really 2 items that were changed by council. There was other discussions, but nothing else moved forward that I can recall. And then the 15th and final on Ravinia was passed. So it's amazing how fast that project moved along. The Testmer and Weber properties was approved. And then a minor subdivision on St. Teresa that just split up the property that they were purchasing from the city of Corcoran to the piece that they're retaining versus the linear park and the portion that the city is retaining. And so that was the 3 real items that came before council related to planning items, but happy to answer any questions on those or any other questions you guys may have.
Well, thank you.
Alan, did St. Therese?
Go ahead, Meredith.
Alan, did St. Therese give an idea of their timeline?
Brad, you might want to comment on that if you've heard any updates from St. Therese. I don't think they've presented anything to council in quite a while, so.
Correct. So they're still in the design phase, chair members and Councilmember Schultz. Their goal is to submit something early in 2021. They have actually the purchase agreement needs an application by December 12th, or they have to put some more cash towards the project. So they're going to be doing that, extending the purchase agreement so they can navigate the process. One of the things we're actually looking at, in order for them to finalize their plans, they need to know the elevation of the road surrounding their project. So we at the staff level are considering how we're going to establish the road elevation parallel with their project, and we don't have a road design yet. So we're kind of chicken and egg rushing to get that move forward at this point. So hopefully in January or February at the latest, we'll get an application, but they're moving full steam ahead.
Okay, thanks.
So I was the liaison for that last city council meeting, and the discussion around that garage issue was pretty interesting. I believe it was the developer that kind of came and said, well, yeah, but, you know, if you're only looking at it from, you know, a street level, first level, you know, deal. But, you know, if you look at the fact that we have such a larger front, that garage is, it was actually pretty interesting and an interesting way to look at it. So my question to the commission at large, and maybe to Mr. Moretto, Mr. Martins, and Mr. Schultz, do you guys see this as being an issue that the planning commission will, you know, should we address that? You know, all of those percentages and start considering how that second floor stuff might factor into that maybe might make this all a little bit easier. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, is this something we should maybe actively pursue in reviewing and making any necessary changes? They brought it up. The council made a condition. I just wonder, without maybe aligning that, maybe on future projects, we're always going to leave it to the city commission or the city council to do that.
I would say personally, I've gotten a sense that there may be some future interest in redesigning some of these ordinances so that there isn't as much flexibility with PUDs. That's kind of the sense I'm getting from discussions that I've heard. It'll be interesting to see what the future council says. I would say once we have a work session, planning session for the future council, what comes out of that will probably be some direction to the planning commission to think about having those discussions. But yeah, I mean, it seems like we've always had this request for changes to what our ordinances have been with these PUDs. And the 40% too kind of came into the fact, well, if you just straight up said, no, you can have up to 75%, what was to stop somebody from coming in with a single level home that's 75% garage front, right? Or 80% garage front. So it seems like every time a new project comes in, there's things we've never thought about in the past that maybe we should be putting on a list and starting to hammer out. And, you know, I would say the planning commission is the right commission to be thinking about those things and making recommendations to the future council.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
It would be nice if we could lock some of this stuff down. I know a lot of frustration for everybody. Everything coming to us is a PUD instead of having kind of some rules and expectations set in the ordinances. So that'd be cool to see that come.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed my conversation this morning with Paul. And, you know, he came from multiple different cities. The last one was, I'm thinking of it, Paul. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Starts with a V.
Yes.
Victoria.
Victoria. And we discussed, you know, PUDs and things like that. And, you know, I think Paul's got some very interesting stuff. Meredith, I know you and I have talked a lot about, you know, and put it in our future plans for the Planning Commission, a tree preservation, you know, deal. Actually, Paul has worked on that kind of stuff in his previous jobs and has had some success in getting some of that implemented. So I suggested to Paul that maybe there's maybe a future work session for us and for him to, you know, kind of go through. I think he has a lot of new viewpoints that he can offer us, and you know, maybe we can address some of those things. We're certainly not going to solve it. As Commissioner Varenkamp says, everything that comes down the pipe, it just seems to change everything. So I expect we're going to always have that. But anyway, it was a nice discussion, and I look forward to, you know, maybe having some kind of work session along those lines. Okay, anything else for Councilmember Schultz and the City Council report?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Oh, somebody else talk. I'll go. Just a quick question. I've got people asking, when does the new roof go on the ice shack in our park?
Brad, you may have an update on that, but I don't think we were going to do anything until it dried out, correct? Or is the roof coming on?
I'm almost certain it's done.
Oh, it is? Okay. We weren't doing anything in the inside until it dried out. I knew that.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm 99% sure that's done.
Okay.
The new roof is on.
They were working on it when I was running at the ball field 2 weeks ago, Brad. At least they were taking the shingles off, so.
Okay.
Good.
Just,
Great.
I hadn't
Now-
seen anything, and be nice if we could preserve that before it falls down.
Not now, all we need is cold weather to
Yeah.
freeze ice. Bring on winter. I got snowmobiles ready to go. Okay, anything else? All right, we'll move on to item 7C, any other business? Okay. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I know you brought up just the tree preservation plan. I know with the new council coming in, just wanted to state it for the record, some things that we've talked about. I know we talked about tree preservation as something that's come up, garage facing, which is something that's come up. We've also talked about conservation easements and just not being familiar with that as a city. And perhaps that could be something we look at as what Maple Grove or even Victoria or, you know, Shoreview has done. Within that, as we're talking PUDs, I think a lot of that stems around preserving rural character. And I know that's up for discussion and debate about what that really means. But I think when Tavara came in, we talked about, you know, what is that contiguous forest, or at least things that are identified in the comp plan as ecologically sensitive areas. We're really sticklers for holding things within the comp plan, but it seems like anything that's ecologically sensitive, as long as the ESA is done or the official letter is done through the county, we kind of give carte blanche if we get sewer, water, and paved roads to developers. So I think it's worth discussing what's valued, and then align with the new incoming council of how that charts forward within the comp plan. So I wanted to bring that up just with Paul here and some of the council member and mayor-elect here on the call, and just state that for the record.
Yeah, well, thank you. And, you know, I apologize, Councilmember Thomas, Mayor McKee, and Mr. Nichols, thank you for joining us tonight. We normally don't get a lot of outsiders, at least from the, you know, from the council. Alan has always been our go-to guy here now for quite a while, but thank you for joining us. And
of course,
you know, any feedback that you may have for our meetings and whatnot, we'll certainly love to receive that. But
Sounds good.
congratulations on all your elections. And
Thank you.
again, I think we're all looking forward to, to working with you and seeing, really what your ideas are about some of these issues.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff, we're all new to this, even though some of us have been doing some of this stuff for a long time.
Right.
We are certainly understanding some of the shortcomings of how our codes and ordinances are set up. When we can all point to examples as we go through this, but we're all learning, and we're all trying to make sure that we get it right each and every time. But I think one thing we're all learning here real quick is you're never going to please everybody.
Right.
And you're never going to have the answer for everybody.
Right.
There's too many answers. There's too many options. And, I think the only solace that I take out of, being in my chair versus yours is that we just get to make recommendations.
There you go.
Your vote is certainly much more important than ours. And so,
well, it's definitely a team effort, and I'm looking forward, and I think I can speak for everyone new on the council, at least, that we're all looking forward to diving into a lot of this stuff together and starting to figure it out.
Yeah. Well,
for what it's worth, my goal is always to make new mistakes and not make the same old mistakes over and over again. So we will at least,
there you go,
I think, all be in alignment for some change to make things better. We're not going to get it right every time, to your point, Dean. But we can at least make for some progress. I think we will see a lot of things tighten up in the ordinances if we can put the time in to work on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all have such very diverse, interests and experience and properties here. We all have our own personal biases. And I think one of the hardest things about any of, my job or your job or any of the other volunteers here, and especially maybe like Brad, it's just you're going to have these biases but trying to ignore that and be fair, to the overall best interest of the city, I think that's a hard thing to do. But, we all love the city. There's no doubt about it. We all love here. We moved here and there was a reason. Actually, I'll tell you a quick, when I was young, right out of college, and I got into snowmobiling, I had a high school buddy who lived up on Bechtold, and he had a landscape business that he ran out of here. And he says, come on over, let's go snowmobiling. We got trails all over the place. So, I lived in Plymouth. And so we trailered our snowmobiles out of here, and I'm coming down 10 and I see this sign, Corcoran. And I just like, that is such a goofy name. And I said to my wife, I go, there is no way I'm ever going to live in a town called Corcoran, And well, you know what? 3 years later, we got 5 acres and we're building a house, and I've never regretted it. But it's a place to live. So, all right. Well, item 8, Commissioner Liaison Calendar. We have Mr. Scholak up on the 10th.
Yes.
A week from today, Mr. Varenkamp on the 21st, and Commissioner Wu on the 14th of January. Beyond that, I don't know how accurate your calendars are, but I probably can't really go past mid-January here. But does anybody have any changes? Anybody gonna be out of town? Need to switch? We're all good? Okay, good. All right, well, item 9, adjournment. I'll entertain a motion, or I'll make the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second, Varenkamp.
All right. Approving adjournment for tonight's meeting, Commissioner Dickman,
Aye.
Commissioner Schlock,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu.
Aye.
All right, and Commissioner Jacobs, I vote aye. This meeting is now adjourned, and I thank you all for your time. And Mr. Moretto, you did a fine job today, and we look forward to working with you again.
Thank you,
I
Paul.
think it looks like you're probably sitting in the mayor and the chairperson seat right there, aren't you? I can see that flag and that exit sign right behind you and that calendar. Hey, Paul, you might, since we haven't been there since like March, you might want to make sure that the calendar behind you is flipped to the current month. Don't look at it, make any decisions. All right, we all look forward to the day we can get back there, and I'm anxious to see the remodel. So hope it's going well, Brad and Paul and everybody else who works there. So with that, I bid you good night and thank you very much.
Happy holidays and see you next
Happy
year.
New Year, everyone.
Oh, that's right.
holidays.
Yeah, Happy New
Oh,
Year.
yeah. Well,
Happy holidays, everyone.
All right, take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.